What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on this finally Friday, October 14th, 2022. It's about 12:12 p.m. California time along the west coast here. Going to be another warm one, up around 90 or so today in my neck of the woods. Latest earthquake shows looks like a 5.0 earthquake into the Big Island of Hawaii. Somewhat of a larger size earthquake for this area. Let's go ahead. It looks like that's just coming into the region there. Not for certain if I have a Hawaii station up or not. Doesn't actually. Yeah, looks like it's over here. The Kippa Hawaii area is picking up that 5-pointer. This station is specifically a little ways away from where this 5-pointer struck. But let's go ahead and check out the latest activity here on the map. Coming in from the USGS as well, 5.0 in the Pahala area. Now that Kippa Hawaii station is somewhere situated up here, I believe. One of the other islands out here. This 5.0 coming into our typical swarm area near Pahala. And I say typical swarm because this is an ongoing event. As far as this swarming goes, it's been ongoing and documented since about the 60s. And we've covered that quite a bit in recent updates. Looks like they have downgraded it to a 4.9. Either way, but still somewhat of a larger earthquake for this area. Now, notice the depth here of this earthquake compared to the others in the typical swarm. Normally, they're around about 35 kilometers or so, pretty consistently for this swarm. But this 4.9 striking at 11 kilometers deep. That's not very deep at all. Looks like it still is at a review status, as far as it's an automatic review status from the preliminary earthquake reporting systems. Looks like a few folks did report feeling it on the Big Island, mostly in the populated regions, of course, and specifically around the epicenter. The Did You Feel It responses here showing some of the issuing communities. And let me check here real quick and see what we got for the depth here. So I'm waiting to see if this is going to be reviewed or not. Definitely kind of a bigger earthquake. So with the ongoing swarm that we're seeing at Mauna Loa too, any kind of unusual activity could indicate a presence of movement below the ground magma. Let me bring up the hazard notification system here from the USGS. See what they got as far as any updates. Their daily update looks like that was put out this morning time frame. Yeah, this morning a little bit ago. They're talking about Kilauea Volcano still continuing to erupt and confined to the crater. But the one I'm kind of watching and worried about is the Mauna Loa area. Looks like 51 small magnitude earthquakes over the last 24 hours. Below 3.0 have been kind of an ongoing deal there at Mauna Loa. It does indicate that could potentially be magma down below. Stirring up. The current unrest is most likely being driven by renewed input of magma 2 to 5 miles beneath the Mauna Loa summit. So Mauna Loa, a ways away from the Pahala area, but still something worth watching. It's kind of a larger earthquake in this area that we've seen in quite some time. Normally they get quite a few threes in the mix. I'll bring up the largest magnitude. Looks like there was a 4.5 a little bit further down there in the swarm. Notice the depth there of about 32 kilometers. And a little bit to the northeast, excuse me, as well. So we'll watch it. I'm kind of waiting to see what they do with the update here on the depth of the earthquake. But for now, pretty good 4.9 out there. Want to see what we got for magnitudes here across the area. Looks like just one station here reporting a 4.8. See here, 45 stations, number of phases 62. Probable magnitude uncertainty, though, is a little bit within the 4.5 range, plus or negative. But that wouldn't be an 8. That would be over here. So either way, we'll carry on here and definitely keep an eye on it. 4.9 on the Big Island. All right, earthquake activity down here along the Kermadec Trench as well. Things kind of kicking up pretty nicely. Also some movement down here along the New Zealand area around the Hikurangi subduction zone as well. The majority of this earthquake activity, though, at least on the Kermadec Trench, looks like it was from last night. No further renewed movement here along this area, but I'm pretty certain that... let's go over here to the EMSC model and see what they're reporting for some earthquake activity in the New Zealand region. Got to zoom in here to see some smaller quakes. And we'll take a look here. It looks like a pretty good cluster of earthquakes. See that movement up here around the... I'm going to try and zoom in here and see if I can't get that a little bit closer. There we go. Some of this movement up here inland, and a lot of it is deeper activity. Let's see what we got here. This is 3.1. See the depths of these earthquakes here, 155 kilometers deep, all indicator of some movement into the Hikurangi subduction zone, which sits about right here. I believe this is New Zealand's worst enemy in terms of a potential catastrophic earthquake in this area, and I'm sure a tsunami. Going to study that a little bit today. I think I did mention last night that I'm going to be doing a little bit more updating on that Hikurangi. So just been a busy day here, trying to get a bunch of stuff done. Also schoolwork, so I got a little bit behind, but we'll get to it. So either way, just a heads up, New Zealand area definitely showing quite a bit of deeper movement there around the Hikurangi subduction zone over the last couple days. Tonga area, see the 5.5, that one coming in earlier this morning time frame. Again, deep into the Tonga Trench at 565 kilometers deep over here. Got a little bit of adjustment here. Adding a little bit of strain here just south of the Port Vila, Vanuatu area with a 4.7, somewhat shallow, 35 kilometers deep. And of course, we did have some movement with that larger quake there yesterday, the 6.4 in the Papua New Guinea area. Haven't really seen too much in terms of forward movement here. Typical forward movement with the plate transfer pressure transfer, I should say. But it's still coming, I think. Just kind of watching it. Way up north of Mongolia into Russia, had a 4.9. That one coming in late afternoon time frame yesterday. Of course, India as well. Not a whole lot of renewed development out here in this area of the world. Most of it confined to the Pacific Plate in certain sections there. All right, let's go ahead and check out specifically the states. A little bit of movement outside of Mount St. Helens as well today. We're going to check the seismograph station right now up there and see what we got there at Mount St. Helens. And by the way, 468 epicenters of tremor yesterday along the Cascadia subduction zone. Quite a bit. All right, Mount St. Helens, the seismograph station up here that I kind of like to use is, well, right next to these couple little earthquakes being reported. So see what we got going on here at the Dome Station, it looks like, Mount St. Helens. There in Washington, where I think they're going to be getting some rain here pretty soon, which is good. Not a whole lot going on here, folks. Looks like maybe one spike of an earthquake right here. Let's go back the previous day. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot. Another one right here. It's a well-defined localized earthquake, but no major movement. Just a couple small microquakes there at the Mount St. Helens area, and also up around Mount Rainier, it looks like. All right, Northern California, a little bit of activity around the Eureka area, and also just outside of Redding. There's that earthquake here outside of Davis. This came in yesterday. Looks like we had another one overnight as well. Couple twos here. It kind of sits right outside the Sacramento Valley into the Delta regions. There's a movement along the Hayward Fault here as well. And let's see what we got further down south. Not a whole lot, at least as far as this region goes. Looks like things are calming down around the Willer Ridge here in this little area in between the San Andreas Fault and the Garlock Fault shear zone. Got a 1.7 coming in. Pretty shallow earthquake there in the Antelope Valley region near Lancaster, south of Mojave. Ridgecrest very spotty. A little bit of activity kicking up here. You guys notice that around the Salton Sea area? That's the not a good place to see a swarm because we got the sleeping giant down here. The infamous San Andreas Fault, the southern segment. This is the one that's got quite a few folks worried. An 8.1 magnitude earthquake is forecasted to occur on this section of the plate boundary when things finally do unzip. It's been over 300 and something years since a full rupture along the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault. So just a matter of time before that is before that comes to pass, I should say. 0.8. It looks like a little bit of smaller microquake activity as well to the west. So we'll watch that pretty closely, see if we get any kind of swarming going on there throughout the afternoon and evening time frame. Spotty activity throughout Nevada and Utah. Yellowstone National Park, looks like things kind of mellowing out a little bit. They do have their station back up and running. The server, I should say here, is this thing on .org/Yellowstone/Dathums.php is the website to check out the overview, which I like. I kind of like this overview a lot, and I do appreciate this website. You utilize it a lot. I'm sure quite a few folks do. And overnight, this morning time frame, yes, we're still seeing some earthquake activity. Notice these very small spikes, but these are very small even compared to the ones that we seen yesterday, where we've seen mostly all these underneath the 2.0 threshold. Let's see what we got for Oklahoma. I know we had a couple earthquakes already this morning in Oklahoma once again, near the Dover, Oklahoma area. I'm still uncertain as to what's going on here, or if this is leading to something much bigger. We're now looking at 241 earthquakes here in Oklahoma, not throughout the state, but just confined to one area, which is very unusual, very odd. This is last 30 days of all magnitudes. And out there, we got a lot of oil fields and pumping operations and injection wastewater facilities. Or I don't know if I want to call them facilities, but operations. And this has just been an ongoing thing right here. And kind of in a linear fashion, has been migrating here to the northeast towards these other oil pumping operations. So little uncertainty as to what the outcome may be. I definitely think it's worth noting, and the longer the swarm continues to go on, the likelihood possibly of seeing a bigger magnitude earthquake out here in the Oklahoma region. Some activity out here in the oil fields as well of Texas, outside of Pecos, Texas. We can bring up the satellite imagery here, and this is a little bit somewhat harder to find because of the vegetation out here. A lot of times this brown backdrop here of the land, the topography of the land here kind of blends in with the pumping operations out here, but we can kind of see them. We can definitely kind of see them. This kind of looks like some well, or not well, but some type of waste pond, and there's a lot of them out here throughout the desert of Texas, and that's kind of where this activity is kicking up here outside of Pecos. Some of these may be erased, so to speak, over the years. You know, rainfall, erosion, the road network not being used, so a lot of this has been washed away as far as the signs of what's going on out there, and those signs point towards the those operations. Not a whole lot going on through the eastern portion of the country. Caribbean plate looks very minor, not a whole lot going on today. Let's see what we got in Alaska real quick, and then we'll double check Hawaii. I see it kind of kicking up down there again. The Aleutian Trench, that one coming in yesterday, 4.0. Most of this activity actually is from yesterday. A couple newer ones up around Denali and the Cook Inlet area, but things just kind of mellowing out here, it seems, up north. It'll definitely be interesting to see what takes place here with this 4.9 that kicked off. Getting a little bit of separate swarming down here as well, and those the depth of those earthquakes are staying pretty consistent with each other. Let me double check, see if this has been reviewed. And where'd it go? Oh, still automatic status, 4.9. Let's see what we got. Here's a couple of these other stations here that we can look at. I think there was like 30 or 40 different stations that came in with the readings. A couple of those above the 5.0 threshold, couple below the 3. Lots of 5s in there, so dependent on where these are at, how far the P wave reached the station or how quickly it reached the station, and they kind of the computer does all the math and puts all the numbers in and gives out an average according to where the epicenter took place and the arrival of the wave times at these different stations. And a lot of them are above the 5 range, so I wouldn't doubt it if we potentially see this back upgraded to a 5.0. So definitely watch it and see if they do. Right now it's still just underneath a automatic status there from the USGS. Let me refresh this, just double check. Yeah, still automatic. So all right, guys, let's move on. Solar weather activity real quick. Got C flare, or that was actually an M flare that kind of kicked up earlier this morning time frame, an M1.3 it looks like. Little long duration one, M1.3. Weren't really expecting that, but it's from our departing sunspot, 3119, I'm sure, and 3112, which is the latest imagery. This is kind of a day late, or a day old, I should say. It just shows you the sunspots. This is the most recent update. Notice these are long gone, so nothing, even if it did produce a massive CME, not going to be Earth directed. But we are still feeling, the effects from the flares that do kick up here on the eastern or western side of the sun. Not a whole lot of development coming up around the bend either, so things are going to be turning green as they have been. Not a whole lot of solar weather activity to discuss. The forecast called green across the board, but we got a couple hours here of elevated conditions last night. Not for certain where this came from. It looks like there was a pretty good tilt in the interplanetary magnetic field, the BZ component, allowing looks like some solar wind stream, as minimal as it was, to kind of flow in a little bit. So that was not really forecasted there from these folks. All right, guys, let me give a quick shout out to a couple of our channel members here. I always like to recognize these guys right now. We're going to run through this real quick. Gino Purple Bullet, Melanie Fisher, Clayton, CU2, Kenneth, Chris, Mike, Sherry Sanders, the Shelby Rhythm, Gary, Joycelyn, I believe. Excuse me if I pronounce that incorrectly. Missy Mimi's isn't here right now to correct me on that. Chuck, Rosemary, Catherine, Kathy, Dolores, Pamela, Judy, Laney, Robbie82, Betty, Nancy, Maria, John, Debash Mode, Joelle, Alicia, Mike, Catherine, Pamela, Ray, Hope and Feathers, Robert, two Roberts there, longtime members. The Fly Lady, Jay Fuentes, another longtime member. Albert Sanchez, down at the top or bottom of the list, but that technically means one of our longest members right there, Albert. We appreciate you being part of the team, and we are next week going to be giving out some prizes here to the members only folks. We do this every month, and we're coming up towards the middle of the month when we do our drawing. We'll do a little bit more detail info on it throughout the next night or so, but coming up this next week I should say, we'll pick a day and do a live drawing for the members only, and we're going to be giving away either a mining geology kit, which has a lot of cool little tools in it for mining if you like rocks and digging out there. Also, the second option, you get to pick between one of the three. Second option will be some Earthmaster merchandise of your choice. And the third one is going to be either a $40 Amazon gift card or a $40 Visa gift card, whichever one you want there. So if you want to jump in on that drawing, better sign up now as a member. And no commitment. You don't have to renew every month, but if you wish to, then you may. And of course, we do appreciate the support. We have quite a few videos out there that are member only allowed. And of course, extra emojis and icons and all that stuff. And we'll continue to track forward with this membership option here. It's pretty cool. Real quick look at earthquake activity again. There's the 5.0. Look at that. They kept it upgraded to a 5.0, but it looks as though they moved the earthquake. It was situated over here in this little swarm. Now the relocation here is much further inland, at about 20 kilometers deep. So I mean, that probably means this has been reviewed, upgraded to a 5.0 as noted. Just looking at some of those stations here a minute ago, it showed that there was quite a few registering the 5.0 magnitude level there. The depth at 20 kilometers, so looks like a little bit deeper, but kind of in an odd location. And we are really ramping up here with the swarm now following that earthquake. That's a little weird. Is there another 4.9 in there? Almost looks like there is. Hold on a second here, folks. How did I miss that? Unless they haven't removed the 4.9 yet. Let's see here. Sometimes they do that. This looks like these earthquakes here were pretty close together. Let's look at this real quick, right? Let's look at the seismographs themselves, and we can get a pretty good indicator of what's going on out here. Wait a minute, which one am I on? Let's go back here to hazard notification system here, HVO, and then we'll go to is this the right one? Hold on a second here. Overloaded on input. I'm going to show you guys the seismographs here. It looks like there's a seismograph station right around the Pahala area, so that'll give us a better view. Look at that. Ooh, that's a nice signature right there. Ba-boom. And some other earthquakes there in the mix. Look at that. It was really quiet before that. Things are really rocking now, though, around the Pahala area. And sometimes it's hard to tell at these very close stations if there's two earthquakes in here or not, because the shadow, so to speak, the seismograph shadow of the first one could obviously cover up the second one, which was only seconds later. So let me go to a more distant station. Obviously, that was a pretty good sized earthquake. Let's go up here around the northwestern portion of... Ooh, those doesn't even look like it's picking that up. That's a little odd. We'll go up here to the north. Maybe. There we go. Even this, though, is kind of hard to tell. It looks like there may be a second earthquake in there. So that's a lot of earthquake activity all of a sudden kicking up out here, folks. A lot. Might be an interesting day here to keep an eye on the volcanoes out here. The Loihi Seamount not showing a whole lot of activity out here, but that's some pretty good uptick. So according to this one, let's go ahead and refresh this. Make sure, because sometimes they pull it. At a 4.9, and then literally a couple seconds later, a 5.0 in a different location, and a couple different variables and depths there. So that's a lot of activity. We'll definitely be watching this throughout the day. I'm going to have to find me a closer station there. I do have that Kippa, Hawaii station, which is right there, bottom left side of the screen. That's going to be this one right here, but it's a ways away. So I'm going to look for a little bit more localized station to the Pahala area. Pretty easy to find. I'll work on that here after the update. But wow, things definitely getting active out there along the Big Island, and could be some new movement at the volcanoes. We'll definitely keep an eye on that, folks. 5.0 and a 4.9 on the Big Island, and along with a whole bunch of other earthquakes now kicking up in this little, this pretty nice swarm. We'll be back a little bit later on this evening, folks, with a complete update, unless something drastic happens, which hopefully isn't the case. But we will report back on this tonight. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.